Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your KP Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Trevor, and he's brought along a friend, Samuel, of Area 51, the Helix Project. So excited to break this down with you guys. Trevor, I know right off the rip, you were like one of my very first comic book Yeti interviews for Area 51, the Helix project. So it's like, it was awesome to get that chance to kind of like connect with you on a different level, and then like afterwards we've like just really developed an awesome friendship. So man, it's great to have you back on. Samuel, this is your first time on the show, so I think what we'll do is start with you. Give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are and how you got into creating comics.
Well, I am Samuel Iwunze. I know a lot of people mess up the last name.
That's why I didn't even try. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Iwunze. So I started drawing when I was in diapers. First time I could carry a crayon. I would draw on the walls, and my mom would like tell the story of having like buckets of paint ready whenever I draw on the walls. So she started getting me comics from our local church bookstore and everything, and they just opened my eyes to be like, oh, these things that I've been drawing on the wall can actually be made into something that people can read and enjoy and everything. And I kept drawing, never finished a comic in my life until I started my internship at a comic book company called Comic Republic for like 5 years. Studied, drew my butt off, and yeah, here I am with Trevor creating like one of the most like emotionally and challenging and amazing books I have ever done so far. And yeah, it's been such an amazing journey, and I'm so happy for it. And I'm so happy I get to draw all my life.
Your art is gorgeous, by the way. I love it. What are some of the projects that you have been involved with outside of Area 51?
Oh, well, it's been a lot.
That's a good thing, though, right?
It's a good thing, yeah. Like I said, I started with Comic Republic. Shout out to Comic Republic. Shout out to GD Martin. I started with this motion comic book, which is weird because I didn't really start with like traditional comic books. It was by DW News Channel. It's a German news channel. It's like the German CNN, and they started these stories about African history, and they wanted to make a motion comic, and I just jumped to it because I love doing stories that tell like human stories and all that. So it was really fun. And then from there, I went into doing more documentary stuff, like journalistic comic books. I did one for Mark Ellison, who is a photographer. Shout out to Mark Ellison. It's called Suffer the Witch Not to Live. It was a documentary about Nigeria and how a lot of kids were suspected to be witches, and a lot of bad things happened to them. So it was a very good way to tell that story. Then I also did stuff for Lawrence and Alicia from Al Jazeera about motherhood in crisis. That's about like the struggles of motherhood in Africa, in third world countries in Africa. I did a lot of,
it seems like
stories.
your scope is like so diverse too. Like you've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Then also to the cool part, I created this action book with one of my very, very good friends and creators, Toba. It's called Metal at the 13th. Yeah. It's kind of like a story about how Batman would be more realistic in the real world, and how people of the real world would take care of, the issues we have in society. Like, it's about 13 people from different walks of life who come together in a big organization to, handle the kidnappers, the corrupt leaders and all that. And it was a very amazing experience. We've done about 3 issues. The third issue was one of my favorite because it had to do with a very small, confined story about like I don't want to say the word, but the R word, and it was very important at that time because at that time a lot of stories were coming out, and it was very, very good to do, very emotional too, and it actually paved the way to make more emotional stories for me. That's where I went into freelancing and I started doing covers for Jeff Schiller, Magic Powder.
I was gonna say I seen you issue 3,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Issue 1 to 3. It has been really good. Doing more cover work. I can't really name all the covers I've done so far.
Those are gorgeous, though, by the way. I remember, I'm not trying to cut you off, but
much.
the first time I got into indie comics and I met Jeff, the cover for issue 1, I was like, this is freaking gorgeous. And like,
Thank you
I just
so
remember
much.
being drawn to it, and like, man, your style is remarkable. Trevor, like, how did you and Trevor meet? Like, how did you guys get together to start working together?
Oh my God, how did we meet? I think Trevor, was it on Instagram or Facebook?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It
Instagram.
was It was Instagram, yes. Trevor came to me like he just wanted a variant cover. I was like, okay, fine. I've been doing covers for like a while now, so that's cool. I thought it was just going to be like a one done deal, like we do this and it's good and thank you and everything. But then as we were going into making that cover, like I just knew that, oh, this is someone I'm going to have for a long time, because the way he was so into just a variant cover, which is something that, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't really think about, but the detail, the level of effort he puts mentally and emotionally into that one cover, I was like, this guy cannot leave me right now. We have to continue what we're doing. So he was like, once we finished the cover, and he was like, you have to do the remaining issues. And I was like, yeah. At first I had to be humble, like, oh, there was another artist at first who was actually really good too. But I was also like, I have to jump on this, because this is a story that, man, I can draw aliens, I can draw blood, which is something I couldn't do because Comic Republic it's a family company and everything. I can draw like more visceral and more like emotionally challenging stuff. So it has been a journey, a beautiful journey, and I appreciate the fact that he's this type of creator that can let you express yourself, gives you the opportunity to explain why you're doing what you're doing, because the intention behind everything is the important thing in art. So he lets you express your intention and lets you show your intention in a way that he knows what he wants, but at the same time you can also do you, which is a very complex balance and very difficult balance to have as a creator and a writer. And he does it so well, and I know he's going to be like, oh, that's not me, oh, whatever, but he does it so well. So yeah. Yeah, that's how we met, and it has been like uphill ever since. So
That's awesome. Real quick,
yeah.
For everyone that is watching, in post-production, we will have a link popping up right at this moment, giving us our Black Adam spoiler-free spoiler take session that we did with Trevor. So we'll have that pop up right now. So Trevor, we've had you on before, not formally in an interview though, kind of just breaking down just what we thought of Black Adam. So for everyone that is watching, interested in who you are, kind of give us a little bit of an idea of how you got into creating comics.
Oh man, it was a weird process. I was going to school for molecular biology at the University of Connecticut at the time, and I didn't have many friends that were into comics, so I started doing like comics YouTube reviews, interviews, and eventually it led me to getting a press pass to New York Comic Con in 2019, where I went to a Marvel fanfare panel where the primary speakers were C.B. Cebulski, Marvel's editor-in-chief, and Chris Claremont. And during the panel, I asked a question that probably very well could have gotten like a tomato thrown at me, but it didn't.
What was the question? We got to hear it.
I had stood up and asked both of them sort of what the balance was of trying to remain true to like your artistic intentions and the creative sort of machinations of what you're trying to do, under the sort of gaze of a larger corporate entity that tries to kind of affect itself over what you're doing for the sake of selling like merchandise or other media. And I was like, that could have either gone really well or really poorly. But CB kind of we were crossing paths in the aisle, and he approached me and he was just like, have you ever thought about working in comics? And I was just like, not until the editor-in-chief of Marvel asked me if I've ever thought about working in comics. So at the time, like I said, I was going to school for molecular biology, and he had said he'd give me his business card, which I keep in my wallet. Like I keep it to look at it and to remind me to hustle. But he had given me his business card, said to CC him and apply for this editorial internship. And I did. And I interviewed in March of 2020, the week that hand sanitizer and toilet paper was selling out everywhere. And things went well. I think the interview went well. I got a call back. And then the lockdown happened in the United States.
Oh
and
my God.
I get a call about a week into the lockdown from someone in their HR department, and she just said, listen, we're still thinking about you. We don't want you, this opportunity isn't necessarily going to go away, but we just furloughed, a portion of our editorial staff. Pretty much all of our books are going to be put on hold. And we're really only continuing art production on, sort of the higher sales books. And so I was miserable for a couple months, as one would expect. And I get a call back just from Sarah, just telling me that, they're still thinking about me. They just didn't know when they were going to be back in the offices, but that, the opportunity was still there. And eventually and it's not their fault, but I got tired of waiting, and I just decided I wasn't going to ask for permission to do what I wanted to do. So I did a bunch of research on, just like the crafts of writing and editing comics. I taught myself very basic sort of structural art skills. I taught myself color theory and started reading books on comics, like the Scott McCloud stuff, which is absolutely brilliant. Understanding.
Yeah, I got
comics.
that like right here too. I made a thread. I'm pretty sure you're the one of the many who recommended me get this book, and I've been reading it. It's a big book and it's filled. So I try to do a couple pages a day.
It's brilliant, man. He did a follow-up called How to Make Comics, which is also great. So I read those, and I read anything I could get my hands on around like the screenplay format and film directing, because despite the fact that it's not a 1-for-1 translation, it does tend to lend itself pretty well. It's the closest thing, to writing comics. So, I just did a bunch of stuff and tried to polish myself a little bit, and here we are 2 years later, and I haven't looked back.
And I love how some of your biology like really bleeds into Area 51. So I love how that's what you were going to school for, but like you could really tell, like knowing that when you read it, like when I was reading issue 51, issue 5 before our interview, and I'm like going into it because when I read the first, I think 1 through 4, I didn't know that about you. So reading issue 5, I'm like, this dude, he's slick. He's very slick about this. So I thought it was awesome how you're able to intertwine not only that, but like your education into your writing as well.
The number one piece of advice I always got from people I admire was to write what you know. And I spent way too much money learning about biology to not do something with that. So here we are.
So speaking of Area 51, can you guys give us a little bit about what it's about? We're right at issue 6. So there's been quite a few events that have happened leading up to this point. So without spoiling too much, what's kind of been going on like leading up to this moment?
Yeah, so the elevator pitch for the book, for anybody that isn't aware of it, is effectively, this is a sci-fi thriller story about a child from two worlds who's forced to excavate the trauma of his past when a mysterious figure puts his father's murder into question. And the drive that's imbued in him to uncover the circumstances surrounding his father's murder sends him spiraling into the jaw of this massive Cold War genetics conspiracy, and ultimately forces him to face a twisted ghost from his past that challenges everything he knows about himself and what it means to be human. So it's a super personal story on top of all of the grandeur of sci-fi. But man, where to begin with Kent? You sort of pick up with him 13 years after the most traumatic moment of his life. When he loses his father, and he's at a total loss of agency, despite the fact that you begin to understand that he is quite capable of doing pretty extraordinary things, and there's something about the history of his trauma that paralyzes him. He demonizes that side of himself, but he also demonizes the face that he wears out to the world. So it's like this double-edged sword, because he isn't comfortable no matter what skin he's in, and everything gets flipped upside down when a mysterious figure kind of begins to imply that everything might not be what it seems in regards to the loss of his father, and sends him on this journey of hopefully finding some type of strength in his identity.
Man, I just hearing that elevator pitch, I could see right away why the editor at Marvel was like, you should be a writer. Like, so being comfortable in your own skin, that's something that is, everybody struggles with, right? At some point in their life. Is that any sort of special like symbolism behind that? That just seems like such a deep, like, thing to put your protagonist in.
Well, I mean, it's meant to be a little bit broad in a way, because I think that to a degree everybody suffers from trying to find themselves, and I think for me I could relate to it, because I went from being in this position where I thought I was going to be a research doctor. I thought I was going to go off and spend my time in a lab, and then the Marvel opportunity was sort of on my doorstep, and I thought that I was gonna suddenly, a dream job was right in front of me that I never thought I'd be able to do. And then the pandemic happened. And so I myself was kind of going through this crisis of trying to figure out who I was in the face of a world that was trying to tell me who to be and how to be it. And I sort of extrapolated those things along with like some personal experiences, and tried to kind of string it all through this narrative about Kent, who has to learn to find a strength, a certain power in who he is and where he comes from, and so I think that it's relatable, and there are a lot of different analogies throughout society. I mean, I wrote this story around the time that like the US was experiencing one of the largest sort of civil movements in the country, with BLM, and certainly I'm not the guy that's going to be able to really write that story to a more explicit degree. It's not my place, but I do think that there's something resonant in this idea that we the hero of the story, or the people that we admire, are sometimes defined by these very like superficial sort of like social pedestals. And that's something that I felt like I could sort of explore in this story that wasn't so explicit to the situation at hand, but I felt like it was resonant in a way.
So Samuel, when you're working with Trevor and you're getting these scripts, and I can only imagine what the script looks like. Just hearing him talk about it, that script has to be just as gorgeous to read. What's that creative process like for you when you actually begin to lay down some pencils?
Okay, wait. The first time I read Trevor's script, actually, it was the script for issue 4, before I did the cover, and I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, who is this guy? Like, what's this Shakespearean, larger than life?
It's kind of like a Shakespearean, like Area 51. I get that.
Exactly. It was so well thought out, so detailed. And not necessarily like practically detailed, but detailed in the sense of like emotions and what the character is feeling and metaphors and all that. At first, I was like, "Ooh, am I sure I can do this?" Because it was a lot. It was a lot to read. But then, as we went into issue 5, issue 5, it was kind of like, okay, this script was meant for me, because the way he writes, it's like, I don't know how he does it. It's kind of, don't let your head swell, Trevor. it's kind of like he writes in the sense that he knows who he's talking to. Like the scripts are like he's talking to you directly. It's not Ken punches him and he falls over. No, he's like, Ken throws the punch and it reaches to him, and as it reaches to him, you can feel the anger and repulsion. And as I'm reading, my face is making that anger and repulsion too, and I'm into it. It's like he's talking to the artist. He's talking to you. He's letting you know, like, this is what is coming from here. And as you're reading it, you can understand it. You can already imagine it. And that takes all of the guesswork from you. And like reading issue 6 and reading the first 10 pages, because that's what we did first, I was like, this is something. This is something that I haven't seen before. This is something that's going to be timeless. This is something that's going to be like, oh, remember that book that Trevor wrote? Remember that book that Samuel drew? And as we go into it with each page and with each sketch or draft, we kind of talk about like, okay, what are the characters feeling right now? What is the feeling of it? Because before you even read a panel or a dialogue or a word of dialogue, you already see this is the emotion behind the page. This is the moral argument behind the page. So you're already imagining it from the get-go. And as we are going through it, we kind of talk about what can we use as, symbols to represent this page, especially when it comes to the paneling. The paneling was very important because we had to figure out ways to, make the readers be into it, make the readers be immersed into the pages. So it has been like a back and forth of like beautiful and genuine conversations and talking about the wheres and the hows and the how-tos about, bringing these characters to life, bringing the story to life. And it has been wonderful, like trying to understand his mind and him trying to understand mine. And the way we come up with ideas is like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, we can do this. We can do this. He really wants you to talk about what you are feeling when you read the book, which is really important as an artist because we don't really get that. Most of the time, we don't really get that opportunity to be like, this is how I feel about what I'm reading, and this is how I feel I want to represent it. And his ears are always open, and I love that. And it's from what you've seen with the pages. I mean, that's where the magic is.
I gotta agree with you. When Trevor was talking just a little bit ago, and he's using like 2 to 3 syllables, each word, I'm like, I really gotta step up my vocabulary. Like, I really gotta like.
See how
it up just a notch. So I think right now, let's go ahead, pull up the Kickstarter for issue 6. Everyone in the chat, right there is the link. Check it out with us. If you're unable to back, that's okay. Simply putting this on Twitter or Facebook, anywhere you can. Word of mouth is 100% free, and trying to get as many eyes on this campaign as possible is what we're trying to do. Yeah,
you got to scroll up and show the people that Samuel Iwunze cover, man, because it is gorgeous. It is a thing of legend.
So when you were creating this cover, I mean, this is like trippy. Like, this is like mind blowing. Like, what was going through your head when you first started sketching this out?
Well, it was nightmares from the previous cover because I'm telling you, I told Trevor, like, was it day before yesterday? They haunt my dreams because I am like, how am I going to beat all, like, because issue 5 was. Once I finished it, I was like beside myself, like out of myself, and I was like, "Did I just do this?" Because once Trevor was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," I was like, "Oh, whoa, 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 yeah, me too." Like, so it was a lot going through that, and then coming to issue 6, knowing that it's the final issue and it's the like more, solitary issue where everything is like combined and compressed, and it's just Kent and his dad and whatever happened in the previous issue. Like, I wanted to figure out a way, and he brought this amazing title. I forget the title, please. Trevor, can you say it, please? The Death of.
The title for the issue was the Death of the Boy Formerly Known as Kent Armstrong.
So that was just perfect because I was like, okay, that takes a lot of work away from my head to think about. So it was just mainly about taking all I have experienced from the last issue, the cover, the variant cover from before, and just putting it into that page. I knew that I didn't want to have a background. I knew it had to be flat. It had to just be something very beautiful, but at the same time very, congested to the point that you feel like you want to puke with all the colors. But at the same time, you can see the detriment and also the evolution of this character just in one page. And once I was done with it, I
love the snake. The snake like wrapping around. Any meaning behind the 3 faces though? Is that just like fit the design, or was there like implication behind it? See, look at me trying to like step it up a little bit.
So when I think about when I was thinking about the title, when he said the death of someone once, see, my brain is a lot. I have memory loss. So like everything within the title just gave me a little bit more about the story in general, because once you don't really get to see Kent transforming into his alien form. So in a practical sense, I wanted to show, okay, this is Ken transforming into his alien form. But at the same time, I wanted to show the different faces of Ken, like, because you can see him mid transformation, you can see him fully transformed, you can see him as a human being. But this is the story about him trying to find who he really is within everything that has been thrown at him. So this is just him looking for that correct face, that right image of himself that he needs to find to get through what he has experienced, especially with his father, because he looks like his father. So it's like, how exactly am I going to be my own person when the person I look like is someone that I have to deal with who they are right now, and who they are right now is someone that is I don't recognize anymore. So I don't recognize myself anymore. So I wanted to like impute that. And the snake was because in the issue 5 variant cover, I wanted to use the snake as a symbol too, but then Adrian took it and I was like, so this is my comeback with the snake.
Try it again, Adrian.
Which also has its own symbolism. So I just wanted to involve that in the whole thing. So yeah.
Trevor,
I gotta say, man, like the phenomenon that Sam was able to capture, I think the entire series in one singular image is just incredible. You know, like the covers are always such a special opportunity for me to begin the storytelling. And I remember when I had first like kind of sent Sam like an email just kind of saying like, I want something to really capture this idea of a part of Kent needing to die in order for him to grow. And like and like what Sam was able to turn it into is not only like this beautifully iconic image that you can put anywhere and just like captivate audiences at mass, but like it's beautifully symbolic, and there are layers and layers and layers to this thing, in the same way that issue 5 cover, like it haunts it like haunts his nightmares. It brings me dreams, bro. Like these covers are so special because not only are like these incredibly captivating images that like there's no fucking way anybody looks at those books on a shelf and does not go, I want that.
Yeah, pick it up.
but also it's like it's so layered in symbolism and metaphor, and like it's rich. It's just so rich and beautiful. And I've kind of been joking, but like kind of half not joking, that like if this Kickstarter like makes some stupid number like 12 grand, I'll get that cover art tattooed on my body and I'll be proud to wear it. Like they're just so good. They're so effing good.
Thank you so much.
No, I think it's gorgeous as well. I would almost do it for free, man. Like, you don't even need to hit that 12,000 mark. This is gorgeous enough to go like anywhere. It reminds me almost like a death metal shirt too. You know what I mean? Like a deathcore shirt. You got the title you can't read because it looks like a bunch of sticks, and then it's like such crazy, mind blowing art, and like, yeah, it's gorgeous. So we're currently at $5,586 of a $6,500 goal, so like less than 1,000 away. 99 backers and 40 days left to go. Congratulations, project we love as well. Dude, just killing it. So let's go ahead and check out this cover a little bit more. This is that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Oh man,
I haven't looked at it in a while though.
That's a cover if I've ever seen one. Shit.
So tortured by loss, the son Kent spends 13 years struggling to pick up the pieces until he's mysteriously confronted by someone claiming to have been there on the day of his father's murder, and that they have a means of getting him back. So we also have some other covers as well. Cover B. So tell me what's kind of going on here.
Yeah, so that was by the famous Adrian Bonilla, who got to the snake before Sam was able to for issue 5. Adrian is just a powerhouse, man, and he's been doing variant covers on this book from day one. He's done the variant covers for both of our issue 1 and 2 second printings. And for me, this was actually the last cover we got done out of all of them. And I really wanted to take advantage of the setting of this issue, just being in the desert, this sort of lone combustion chamber between these two figures that have been irrevocably changed, and have had and are in the middle of this reunion that they've been waiting for 13 years, and that's most of Kent's life. And so this is like this really interesting dynamic, because clearly in the top left there, that's Kent as he is now, and it's just like this longing, and this was it's sort of like a representation of the reunion he wanted with his father. And yet you have sort of Kent in the foreground, in this wonderfully graphic and powerful image, transforming, acknowledging both sides of himself, crawling up from under the sand, and there are all the hands of the people that have tried to command his sense of agency, his sense of self. They're very deliberate. Marissa's hand's in there, Colonel Winter's hand is in there, and it's just a moment of power for Kent, this triumph, or I guess this willingness that he hasn't had for most of the story, to take hold of that agency and fight for what he wants. And then in the background, we've had this metaphor going of this hollow thunder that is sort of echoed throughout the course of Kent's life, and it very much returns as the final sort of poetic bow to the end of this story. And so for me, I thought it was also just like a really visceral visual element. And then like right up in the corner there, you have probably my favorite pull quote we've ever had. Respectfully, I love.
Yeah, I was gonna say, ouch.
But I love that. But there's something about the balls of that pull quote that Anthony gave us. That is, I don't know. Maybe it strokes my ego a little bit.
Man, I gotta make sure the next one I give is better now. He took my snake. God damn it.
There will always be room, Cody. You will always have room on the cover of one of my books.
And then we have cover C right here as well, and this is just as gorgeous. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is completely done by our colorist, actually, Marcio Ferretti.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a very, very talented artist in his own right, and I soon realized that. So he did the C covers for issues 5 and 6, and I think he created. What I love about each of these 3 covers are that they all represent these sort of totem poles of what this issue is representing. And this cover we've kind of titled Fracture, and on both sides of that divide you have one part of it Kent, one part of it Roswell, and this image of like the younger Kent, the Kent that was affected and paralyzed by his trauma, kind of dead on the ground. And just like beautiful, psychedelic, like it's insane. If you zoom in there, it's eye candy. Like zooming into the little bits of cross hatching that Marcio did with the inks are just insane.
It won't let me zoom, but I was gonna say you better take Kent like for a cone of ice cream or something after this series done. You guys have put him through hell.
Yeah, he's having a hard time.
Dead Kent here, dead Kent there. Like, oh my gosh, oh that is so awesome. So, let's check out some of these tiers real quick. We have on the side, once again, if you guys are watching, right here is a link. Check this out with us. If you can't back, it is the day after New Comic Book Day, so treat yourself. Putting this on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere where you can type something. Word of mouth is 100% free. So and for also, $5,
you can be the 100th backer.
Yes,
you can be number 100.
Yes, we are right there, teetering right on 99. So we have digital copy for six of issue 6 for $5. At 7, you're gonna get that cover A. Not a bad price at all. $5 for the digital, $7 for the physical. We have $1 more at 8 for the cover B. $10 for that cover C. A digital catch-up at 25. That is awesome. So that's 6 comics. How many pages per issue?
Oh man, anywhere from 24 to 28. However, what makes it even better is that you get both versions of issue 1 in there, and in the back of the issue 1 reprint there's actually some really cool art production stuff, one of which being you get to see the stripped down inks to Adrian's cover for that book, and with all the like little coloring notes if you kind of want to see how the sauce is made. And then there's a director's commentary page from me that refeatures one of the pages in the issue, my original script, and a sort of analysis about like how I approached it the way I did and what my methodology was. And there's going to be some cool behind the scenes features for issue 6. So although it's 28 pages of story, there's going to be another 4 pages of backup features where we're probably going to throw some production material in there as well.
I mean, a great price at 25. You can't ask, that's less than 5, like what, $4 a pop?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Math isn't my strong suit this early in the day.
Well, you're on top of it, bro. You're killing it.
At 25 or more, you have the variant cover trio, so you can get cover A, B, and C. All, gorgeous colors, pencils for just $25. We have the artist print and cover. So do we have some of those prints in the...
So the artist print is always voted upon by the backers. And what happens is we pick one of the covers, and they basically get the option of doing... they get to pick, they vote upon which one of the covers they want to make the artist print. And then sometimes I'll also give them the option to pick a stripped down version where it's just the inks of the cover if they want the black and white. So they get to vote on what everybody gets, because I just, I think there's something special about being able to do a Kickstarter and bringing people in from the ground level, and giving them that sort of customizability,
That's awesome. And this isn't just the artist print or cover bundle. You also get the complete digital comic bundle with early access to the last issue's PDF as well.
Yeah, after that digital catch-up bundle, every single tier you get the entire series digitally, because I know that there are those prospective collectors out there that are going to look at Sam's beautiful artwork and that beautiful cover, and they'll be like, I don't want to ruin it. I need to put it on a shelf, put it in a display, CGC it, whatever. But me, I still, like, no matter what, like if you're a collector or a speculator or whatever, I still desperately want you to read the book because it means a lot to me.
And then,
so you
is
get
this
the
complete?
digital.
Is this complete story catch up the physical?
Yeah, so you get
Wow.
all the digital copies and one of each of the issues as well.
That's for $40. That is a huge bang for your buck.
I think so.
And then we have 70 or more the Helix Project Totality collector's pack. Man, pronunciations aren't my strong suit either. So what's this pack about?
So you get pretty much all the digis, like I had mentioned before, and you get almost every single cover we've ever made of every issue.
And then you guys have a decent amount of tiers as well. So let's go ahead, since we named off a bit of the beginning ones, what are some of your favorite ones after this?
Oh, man. So one of them got taken, where you could get drawn into the end or to a page in issue 6.
Wow.
And actually, if you scroll down, it'll actually show you which of the pages it is on the main story there. I think you're scrolling down the rewards menu. If you go into the main page,
sorry. Yep.
You're good, bro. It'll show you which page you can get drawn into, and it's gnarly. It's such a good death. And Sam is like also a phenomenal he's also like able to capture likeness so well.
It took a long while, but
but it pays off, man. So yeah. It's a little bit further down from here. So right below there, that could be you. And then if you go to the next page, that could totally be you. And somebody, shout out to Jay Corbin, who within like 20 minutes of the campaign launching swiped that up.
I want to die.
And then, so we also have a tier. We have one slot left where, because there was just an overwhelming amount of people that wanted to get drawn into my projects, it's actually that tier right there.
The
where
Minutes
you can get
to
drawn
Midnight?
in. Yep. So Minutes to Midnight is my next project, which is an anthology story where I get to work with a bunch of talented artists on a couple different short stories of different genres. And so I opened up 3 slots where somebody could get drawn in to one of those stories. 2 of them have already been swiped up, so there's only one left. But it's really cool because it's nice to be able to do that way early on so that I don't have to like ask my artist to go back and do any, extra stuff later. But yeah, I think it's cool too because I get to work with a bunch of talented people on top of Sam. I actually just last week sent Sam most of the script to the story that I kind of wanted to pitch to him, which is an awesome like detective mystery story with a little bit of a supernatural bend to it. But yeah, so there's one more slot to get drawn in. If you're a retailer, you can get a retailer exclusive cover that it will only be sold to your store. There's options to get credited as a producer of the series for I think $220, and it comes with a massive prize pack. Like you get variant covers, art prints, enamel pins, a bunch of stuff. You get an exclusive producer sweater that we don't reproduce ever after the campaign. And so if you were to scroll down a little bit on the main page there, you can actually
real quick. I was getting lost in this. Sam, I love how you did the paneling as like glass breaking, so it kind of like bleeds into one another. Like that is like I was listening to you, but I'm like looking at this. I'm like, dude, this is like glass breaking. That is so cool.
Yeah, thank you. It was really hard to do this page in particular because we went back and forth with how to like construct it, but I think it came out well. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. Yeah, thank
Sam
you.
is insane because sometimes I'll put stuff in the script for like a page design idea, like that one, and I'll be like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Can this work? Like all caps, question mark, exclamation point. Do you think we can make this happen? And then it's just Sam just like, yeah, we can do that. And then like he turns out something incredible like that, that just like breaks the mold.
The thing is like
literally.
we can't not try it. Like we have to try it and see if it works. And like luckily it works all the time. So
you said you wanted me to scroll down and find what?
Yep. So if you scroll in just a tad bit more,
that shirt's fire, by the way. Oh my god, that is so cool.
Dope.
I want that shirt.
Oh, you're gonna get that shirt. Trust me. So that's your exclusive producer sweater.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty fire too.
It's dope, man. Yeah, it'll never get reproduced. And yeah,
and that's the cover too. Right? Cover C.
Yeah.
No, cover B.
Cover B. Yeah, we went through a couple different coloring jobs on that one, and we ended up, one of the versions was this red one that Adrian and I, it reminded us of like the Batman promos with like that like harsh red, and I was just like, for a cover, I think I like a little bit more of a broad palette, but I was like, we got to put this to use. One, because I think it's striking and cool. Two, I adore the Batman, so having a little homage to that movie would be great. So I threw it on the producer sweater. I'm thinking about maybe in the future doing like, if we see some success, doing like a cool foil version of that cover with that stark red lightning and such. So that's one of the cool bonuses.
So real quick, let's go ahead and check out some of these interiors too, because we kind of scrolled through them.
Yeah, man.
And also, personally, my favorite pull quote right here.
It's a great pull quote. I'm sorry. It's so good.
Let's go ahead. I'm just joking with you anyways, but right here. So this is from issue 1. We'll kind of scroll through. And these are from the various issues that you can still get within this as well. You can add them on, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So aside from the actual catch-up tier, there's an add-on menu as well after you select your pledge where there's a bunch of stuff. You can pretty much get, all the variant covers. Man, I mean, there's so much. Mystery boxes, enamel pins. And if you need a visual on those, they're all in the main sort of thrust of the campaign page as well.
Man, these interiors are gorgeous. I still remember to this day, like, because I did an interview, no one responded back for the first one that I did for Comic Book Yeti, but then you did, and like you were so happy with like the way I did the interview, and I was like, dude, like I'm gonna keep doing written interviews. Like this like was definitely the motivation that I needed, and like they kind of like build that friendship with you and get to know like this project more like in depth than I normally would have. Like it's awesome to see like issue 6 coming to life, man.
Thank you, dude. And that interview was just as much a pleasure for me. I really enjoy being, even though it was like through email and text, I really enjoy just having like cool conversation with people about comics and being able to kind of get into the weeds of like the things that we don't really always get to talk about, I've probably told people where I'm from and how I started doing comics a million times now, but like, sometimes getting those really cool questions that allow me to dive into like the thought process and the ethics of creating comics or, a little bit about sort of how the sauce is made. I really enjoy those. And you brought that to the table on what your second interview, technically the first one published, go me. But
yeah,
your second written interview.
He's gonna be walking out of this with the head just too big, huh, Sam?
That's
like
special,
it's taking up all the frame right now.
Hey, speaking of sauce, though, let's look at this cake right here. You know what I mean? Like, juicy.
Is the head big enough?
There it is.
Yeah.
Hey, we have J. Michael Miller over on YouTube stopping in to say beautiful book. Welcome to the stream, Jay. How are you doing?
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that.
Oh man, this car is gorgeous too. Was that put in there because it's like a favorite of yours?
Honestly, no. That I had nothing to do with the car. But you know what? it pans out.
It does. It does.
And then you got that beautiful Samuel Iwunze seat cover right there called Smile, which I think is like, oh man, it's such a good cover. It's so good.
I love how you see him doing it, but then the chalk line is like the arm out, like, you know what I mean?
And if you obviously can't zoom in super well now, but if you look at that cover, there's a slight like devious smile.
Yeah.
And there's something about what Sam did there that, like, once you get to the end of issue 3 and the cliffhanger at the end of issue 3, and like you're getting in issue 4 and you see that cover, it's just like, what? There's so much storytelling going on there, man.
We have Geek Collective over on YouTube stopping in to say, what's up? What's up? That's our good friends from over on Twitter. Appreciate you guys stopping in. Hope you're all having an awesome day so far. Right now, we're just checking out some of these interiors of issue 1 through 5 leading up to issue 6. Man, I love this scene in particular too. This I made sure to read issue 5 so it was, you know, fresh in my head, and this was just such a gorgeous way to kind of lead into it.
Oh, Sam absolutely, like,
That scene, wow.
man, he killed it. So funny story is, I had given him sent him the script, and he had done the roughs to like the first 10 or so pages and started inks on the first 5, and I was just like, okay, forget everything you read after that. I need to re-edit the script. And so I re-edited the last part of the script. Like, none of the plot changed, but we added like these insane sequences because I was like, this guy can do freaking anything. So, you know, for better or for worse, I probably put him through the ringer, but like his ability to design and to tell stories visually is so insane that we added 2 spreads at towards the end of that issue 5 that are just like this moment of incredible tension, and then like horror and trauma, and then it gave us that room to do that haunting last page that might, like, the last pages that Sam has done for issue 5 and the upcoming issue 6 are just like, they will stick with you for the rest of your life. They're iconic.
I definitely love the detail in this, and like in this scene in particular, just like the coloring, like how like red is just so vibrant right here, and then it goes to blue, you know what I mean, just from different perspectives. It's gorgeous.
Whenever Trevor sends me the colors, I'm like, oh Marcio.
Marcio is a powerhouse, man.
He's like right here.
I never know what to expect with Marcio because it's use of texture, and oh, it's so beautiful. Just
the palette, like from in here to like right here too. Like I just love how like it's like a completely different mood.
One of the things that Marcio really took to, and it's something that I think actually really took issue 5 to the next level, is we were really conscious of how we were playing with the color of the panel gutters, like those spaces outside or in between the panels. Like if you look at the pages prior, it's actually a really good instance where everything that was underground, you know, in the lab of Area 51 had these black gutters that made you look in, and it felt claustrophobic and tight. But then we have these scenes outdoors, like that memory, you know, with the sort of explanation of Colonel Winter's early trauma as a kid. You have the white gutters, and they're very open and kind of eerie. And then once you get outside, you know, once Roswell sees the outside for the first time in 13 years, spoilers, you know, we play with some really interesting like color blocking. Like there's something, the page when Roswell first, like literally first feels the ground, you know, for the first time in 13 years. And it is just gorgeous. Like from what's inside the panel and outside the panel in the gutters, it is just stunning and like atmospheric. And even with this, like the little decision, you know, at the bottom of that page where Marissa's stabbing the monster-fied Colonel Winters, and there's like, and there's blood coming off, you know, over into the panel gutters. It's just like, this is what comics like can do that you can't do anywhere else.
Yeah. I also really love like right here too how you have like the page break right here bleeding into that gutter, and like how you have like the scene right here, like, you know, bleeding into the gutter. Still, it almost looks like, you know, the scene was kind of like cut. Like it's such, you know, you really don't see that a whole lot in books now.
Dude, Sam is brilliant. Just like the way he's able to design the page, and there's like a weird like geometry to the way that it's approached and the way that it draws your eye in throughout the page. Aside from like the compositions of what's inside the panels and the shape of the panels, he adds like a directionality to the page that like most readers probably aren't going to explicitly notice. So it's cool that you picked up on that, but it's like it does so much work, you know. It performs so much for like the sort of reading process of the book, man. It's amazing.
Real quick, who's the letterer? Because this lettering is pretty awesome as well.
Oh, Taylor Esposito, man, and he's ubiquitous. Like throughout the industry, he's worked for all the major publishers. He's done a slew of indie stuff. He actually just won a Ringo and a Tripwire for best letterer. Rightfully
you
so.
can tell.
yeah. He was one of the first people, you know, when I was trying to put together a team for this book, that I sought out, because I think with indie comics, it can sometimes be apparent that lettering is the first thing that people skip out on. And you know, the letterer is like our composer, and they're crucial to like the sort of enveloping effect of experiencing a story. And so it has to be kind of precise and perfect. And you know, fortunately we have Taylor to absolutely deliver on that and help us do our best to replicate all of these sensations that you don't natively get from comics, right? Like you don't have sound, you know, you don't get any of that. So being able to use like visual design to implicate that is really hard, and you need somebody who's gonna be able to do that in spades, and that's exactly what Taylor does.
And I love how like right here you have the blood splatter like bleeding off of it too. That's so awesome. So right here, some spoiler pages for issue 6. So we have just a couple pages we can take a look at. I love this in particular. Holy crap! Just fingers through the eyes, ripping the head off. Dude, that is awesome, man. J. Michael Miller, real quick, is saying Taylor is fantastic. Some love in the chat as well. So yeah, these interiors are just gorgeous, and I love like the tears. Like, man, this is like these panels are almost good enough to be the cover, right? Like,
yeah.
That was a very emotional issue. Like, dude, very emotional.
That third panel makes me like ridiculously emotional. Just that close up of Kent, and like Jesus, man, like Sam captured such a raw moment, and it's so tragic and sad, and like, you know, like like Sam is so easy to work with, because sometimes, you know, not that I've had the experience of this, but you work with artists that maybe don't always convey, you know, they don't really convey like the expression and the emotion well, and then the writer kind of has to overwrite. Sam lets me get like, I don't really need to put text on anything. Like, you know what I mean? You could just have Sam's art in this book and it would still be beautiful and raw and emotional. I'm honestly like, any text I put on the page is just like the sprinkles on top, man. Sam's the ice cream.
This is gorgeous.
Now my head's going to swell.
Yeah, you both are going to have a hard time leaving the interview. So once again, guys, right here is the link to this Kickstarter. Be sure to check it out. If you're able to back, you have some awesome content that is going to be mailing out to you as soon as this campaign's finished and the books come back from the printers. I had the chance to read issue 1 through 5, and I loved every single issue, and I think you guys will too. If you're unable to back, though, just put this on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can. Word of mouth is 100% free. So after going through the Kickstarter, breaking things down, Sam, Trevor, what would you guys like to say to anyone who might be on the fence about backing?
Oh, I'll let Sam go first, man.
I'm just gonna say, what are you doing? Like, why are you sleeping?
I drink my coffee here.
That's my only thing. Like, what exactly are you doing right now? Like, right at this moment? Because this book is phenomenal. This book is, like I said, timeless. We are going to remember this book for years to come, because it's something that the comic industry needs. It's something that we need as people, because even working on this book has really helped me, because therapy is very expensive. It has really helped me like get through my own issues with family and with my own sense of self-worth and my identity, and coming into my own, like following this journey with Kent has been amazing, and it's so ridiculous. I could get like a front row seat to his mind and how he feels. Well, I might need more therapy for the pages I've drawn, but still, it has been amazing. So for someone to read it outside of myself, and I wish I was a reader for this book, because once you open this book and you see the beauty that it comes with, the intention that it comes with, the emotion that it comes with, and the truth that it comes with, because we cannot run away from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You will not just say, oh, let me just stop at issue 1. You would want to go to issue 2, you want to go to issue 3, down to issue 6. So what are you doing? Come on, seriously. Seriously.
So Trevor, what about you?
Man, Sam is spitting over here.
I know, it's hard to follow up after that, huh?
I know. It's, oh man. At the end of the day, I think as a consumer, first and foremost, you're going to be getting a product that I think is worth more than what you're going to pay for it. It's always super high quality printing. I work with some of the best young artists in the world. I mean, they're fucking incredible. Excuse my French. They're so good. I can't hold myself back. And we're passionate and we care about stories. And at the end of the day, like, the maturation of this story and the maturation of us creatively is on full display.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we get to do something really special and really raw and emotional and something that's easy to relate to on a universal level. And wrapped up in that is all of this crazy sci-fi thriller, like brutality and like sort of chill to it. Like, how often do you get to read a sci-fi story written by somebody with any remote expertise in sci-fi? How often do you get a global perspective, between the team on a story about identity? That's special. That's rich. It's rich in culture, and it's rich in again, like being able to view this from a different angle. And I'm so proud of what we've been able to do. I'm enormously proud of like how we're ending this story. Every interview I've done on this like press circuit to promote this book, I've been asked, how did you feel ending the story? I felt great. I felt perfect. I had
You didn't even let me ask it.
I had no reservations about it because the team murdered it. When Sam sent me that last page, I was in New Orleans exhausted, right? And I stayed up so that I could basically just email him, this is the perfect last page. This is the exact last thing that I want somebody to see when they end this story and when Kent's journey is over. It's vibrant, it's beautiful, it's emotional. And I think, man, I just from my angle as somebody who's worked on this, it's a privilege to work with such talented people because they make me so much better. I've learned so much getting to work with Sam and Marcio and Taylor, and getting to, begin that journey to hopefully mastering my craft. And I think, the sort of byproduct of that is that we've created a story that I think is different. And it has a signature, right? Like, it has our signatures artistically and emotionally and mentally, in a way that can be hard to find. Because of them, I think you'd be hard pressed to find an indie comic that is any better than this. And I have enough wherewithal to know that I did have a part to play in that, but these guys like made it something special. These guys really did make it something unique, and I'm grateful to anybody that considers giving it a look, that reads this story, that connects with it. The greatest joy of my life is realizing that people read this and they can relate to it, and because it's a part of me. This was me trying to get free therapy out of everybody that's reading it.
We're all gonna have like a good cry after this, I think.
Yeah, dude. It was me trying to work through complex emotions and problems and questions, and to be able to like take that beam of light and filter it through the lens of my collaborators. I think we created something that's beautiful and striking, and hopefully it sticks with people. So, like it's also just like it gives me the honor to be able to do things like this and talk to people like you, Cody, that like have come to appreciate the work, and that's something that like man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You
Now
know,
my head's
like,
going to be too big.
well, I appreciate you, man. Seriously, it
I
is.
love the shout out to the creative team too, because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for your art team, your letterer, you would just be writing a book, right? It wouldn't be a comic book. So it's a collective effort of all parties involved.
Yeah, man. I think I would have written a really crappy book if it wasn't for these guys. Like I said, man, they made me better. So like any compliments anybody has to say about these last couple issues are because this team made me hungry, to live up to what they were capable of. Yeah, man, I'm so proud of what we were able to do.
Yo, holy shit. We just hit 100 backers, 5,635. Shout out to J. Michael Miller. Those unique layouts and your passion sold me. So let's go, man. It always gets me so hyped when we have a live back on the show. So outside of Area 51, what's next for you guys? Do you have any projects that I know we were talking about Minutes to Midnight? What are you guys working on?
So yeah, Minutes to Midnight is an anthology that I'm going to be publishing with a collection of short stories of all different genres that all sort of loosely tie together this theme of perspective. When I thought about what I wanted to do with an anthology, obviously my company is called Pocket Watch Press, so I wanted every anthology to kind of loosely be based around, I guess, like a metaphor relating to the time of day. And so Minutes to Midnight, the hour between life and death, for me is that moment of clarity, of perspective, or those moments where you make the worst decision because you have a lack of perspective. Mm-hmm. And so we get to play in all of these different places. And Sam actually has the biggest story in the anthology. It's going to total about 14 to 15 pages because we're doing something different. This next project, this next story that I wrote for Sam is, like I said, it's a detective story. And actually, I kind of floated the idea to him about having him color it. So if you guys were as blown away as I was at his covers that he also colored and inked, I think this is going to be special. So that story to be on the lookout for inside of the anthology is Reflections and Other Little Devils. So I'm immensely proud of it. And I actually, funnily enough, as I was writing that story, I couldn't stop thinking, like I wrote it for Sam. I wrote that story to work with Sam on it. And I think we're going to do something really cool. And there's a lot of great stories in there. I actually just started artwork with a really talented Mexican artist named Steph C. I think that's what she likes to go by publicly, who, oh my God, she's her work is just so expressive and emotive, and it's like they're these beautiful like watercolors layered over colored pencils, so there's just like such a life to them, and I'm so excited for people to learn more. Actually, when you get the physical print of issue 6, there may or may not be a little sort of tease at some of what we're doing next. And Sam, you have made the mistake of putting me in this position where I have to work with you all the time. So
good mistake for him, though, right?
So
oopsie.
So Sam and I had like preliminary conversations about a larger story that we want to potentially do after, and maybe bring to a publisher, say like Image or Dark Horse, if they'd have us. But that story is big and complex and powerful. And the title of that story is actually teased in issue 4 of the Helix Project. If you can go back and check that out. So, and
if you can't, be sure to add it as a reward and get yourself issue 4 so you can figure it out.
So yeah, plenty on the horizon for myself and for what Sam and I have cooking, man.
So
bigger
Sam,
and better things.
Outside of your collaborations with Trevor, anything else up your sleeve for 2023?
Ooh, 2023. Well, I'm doing more cover work because, I love drawing covers, as you can see. And yeah, nothing really now. So whoever's listening,
consider me.
Slide in them DMs.
Dude.
So basically whatever Trevor is like ready for, I'm ready for. We've already talked. We are going to have conversations after this and everything. And I think for this year I am just going to keep my mind open. I want to go into more personal work as well. So you might be seeing comic books I have finally finished after like how many years? So, so I don't want to say too much because I don't want to limit what the universe has for me this year. But I would say it's going to be, it's going to be a doozy.
No, that's awesome, and I love that mentality, right? Like let the good vibes come. So we've reached one of my favorite parts of the show, and we got J. Michael Miller throwing some eyes in chat. You might have a potential bite. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the show, and that's where I get to ask you guys for a little bit of advice for anyone who might be new in the stream. So with that being said, we'll do respective roles. Trevor, your writing advice, and Sam, your artist advice. So for anyone who's interested in getting started, just with comics in general, what would be the best piece of advice you would have? Or maybe if you could go back to yourself when you first started, what would you tell yourself to kind of help you on your journey?
Sam, by all means, speak to the people.
Okay. Well, it's a lot. First of all, I would say don't think too much. Don't force yourself to talk to anyone or beg anyone or, ask anyone for advice yet. Figure out what you want to do first. Figure out where you want to be, dream, fantasize. Because I feel like the beginning of a career or the beginning of a journey is always limitless when it comes to your mind and when it comes to your imagination and when it comes to what you want to do. Let your mind run free. Do not write anything like, these are the lists. Don't do that. Because you're an artist, you have to let everything come to you first. Attract whatever you want to you. Do not limit anything, because when you start making lists, when you start making plans, you start limiting what you want or what you didn't think you wanted. Then from there, figure out what you have, because it's like a triangle. Do you have resources? Do you have money? Do you have skill? Figure out what you don't have and what you have. Use them to the best of your ability. Study. Keep on studying. You will never stop studying. Learn anatomy. Learn how to shade. Copy your favorite artists. Copy even artists that aren't in comics. Like sometimes I look at paintings. Sometimes I look at old books or even children's books, because I remember this horror book I just did, was it last year? I kind of had to go back to my drawings when I was 5 or 4 to really get into it. So every single thing is an inspiration for you. Don't think, this has to be me. No, you haven't found yourself yet. Get all the skills ready, get all the resources ready. When it's time to really find your identity, that's where the work is. So that's where you have to unlearn everything you've just learned, start again, and then start getting into your own, learning yourself. That's where a lot of the crying, a lot of the late nights, a lot of the unfortunately depression and anxiety comes in, but it's needed. It gets worse before it gets better. Yeah. So being an artist is more of like looking inward, facing your demons, because as scary as they are the most artistic people that you will ever have in your soul, but mind, body, and soul, because they have everything. They have the pain, they have the anger, they have the laughter. So figure out who you are when you have unlearned everything you've learned, and never believe that you have mastered it. Never believe it, because you are continuously learning. Knowledge is a bottomless pit, a beautiful bottomless pit. It is something that we should not limit. So once you have everything in your arsenal, that's when you can be like, okay, now I have to do it again, because it's continuous. I can't lie. I can't sugarcoat anything. It's a continuous thing, because right now, because in 2020, I thought that was the peak of my art, because I did wonderful stuff. I won't lie. I did wonderful stuff, and I thought I wouldn't be able to do that again because I burnt out. I couldn't draw a line to save my life. But then starting again, learning again, even with everything I've mastered, and thanks to Trevor for, sliding in them DMs, I thank the Lord, and letting me know that it's okay to reach a peak and then drop. It's okay. Never believe that it's always uphill, because that's the reality of life. Life has to happen so that we can evolve. You can't be the same person going upstairs. No. The staircase, you have to get more muscles and thighs. You have to get more stamina. So sometimes you have to topple down. Sometimes the rock has to roll down the mountain and you have to push it back up again. But when you push it back up, it goes farther. And there will come a time when you do not have to even try anymore. And more challenges will come, but You would be, it would be faster to, pull them off, and just enjoy whatever the universe brings to you. Enjoy yourself as an artist. Believe in yourself. You can cry about your art being ugly. It's fine. Do it. Let the emotions run through because they help. I remember that last issue 5, I told Trevor, like, I was not feeling it at all. I was not feeling what I was doing from the beginning to the end. I was like, let's just throw some colors in there. Let's just throw this. Let's just throw that. And I realized that it was actually the agony of it that gave it that beauty. So let every single part of you tell the truth about your art. That's all I have to say.
If there's anything that I would wish that I could attract, would be $1 million, right? Like, so Trevor, what about you? For anyone who's like interested in like starting their journey as like a writer, what would be your best piece of advice for them?
I mean, so much of what Sam said translates well to the writer side. Just be willing to grow and change. Be willing to study. Find inspiration everywhere and learn from everything. As a writer, it's particularly like writing in a medium like comics. I studied artists. I studied the great artists, and the way that they're telling stories, because that's what I'm trying to communicate, right? Like I'm trying to communicate to the artist, and so I took the time to methodically go over David Mazzucchelli's work and figuring out like what he is doing. Technically speaking, that is making me feel a certain way, totally independent of the script or the writing or the story. Like, just be willing to learn from everything and everywhere and change. Never be satisfied, ever. You can be excited for what you did. Like I'm proud of what we were able to do at the end of this story. I think when we finished issue 5, I was like, this was unlike anything I've ever done. And it takes the progress that we made from that series, like strapped it to a freaking jetpack and sent that motherfucker off into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
And then issue 6 like comes back down to earth in this explosion of emotion, and I'm proud of those things. But I also know that there's more. There are better things to come. There's more to learn from, and I look at what I did even in those issues, and I think about how I could have expanded and how I could have been better or tighter as a writer. And now, like, going into these short stories and then further going into the next larger project, now I can reflect upon the mistakes that I made earlier on, or the choices I made that were inefficient or inoptimal, and tighten this. So now I'm going to have a story that starts at the quality to where I got in issue 5 and 6 and get better in the same way that the Helix project did. So just be willing to grow, be willing to change, seek out the advice of the people that you admire, who are doing the things that you feel incapable of doing as of yet, because you won't grow unless you try to do things that you don't even think you're capable of. And it gives you not only that tool and that ability to do it by working the muscles, but it gives you perspective. In a big bad way. One of the things we're always pushing between issues 5 and 6 with Sam is always like I said, when we have a crazy layout or a crazy perspective, I'm like, does this work? Can we do this? Like, well, let's try it. Let's see what it looks like. How can we use this to push the story forward? And I guess to cap off my babbling, my last piece of advice for a writer is that I see a lot of indie guys start thinking about building a universe or a multiverse first. Let the story come first. Let the characters come first. Because no matter how cool and action-packed and bombastic your story is, if people can't find themselves in your characters, then none of it matters. The reason that Infinity War works is because we adore those characters. We love them. We can relate to the struggles that they're going through. And it's accentuated by the larger set pieces, but the set piece is just a tool to push those things forward. So always be thinking about character, always be thinking about how that's going to drive your story, and be willing to know when you don't know enough.
Yeah, I mean, they came out with Iron Man first, and then 10 years later, Infinity War. It wasn't just Infinity War right off the rip. They spent 10 years really, building and really adding, value to that universe before they dove into it. And then that's when we got the multiverse, you know what I mean? Then they started diving, so you gotta build your stepping stones, up to that higher staircase. I think both of you guys really killed it with those advices. Thank you so much, Trevor, Sam. This was such an awesome sit down. Everyone watching, right here is the link to back Area 51, the Helix Project, one more time. And if you can't, put it on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can. Word of mouth is 100% free. Thank you both for swinging by. Everyone watching, I hope you have a lovely Thursday afternoon. But most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.